Hello and welcome to another episode of DudeCast TV, where once again, I'm your host, Norman Dexter. Thank you for joining me. So, it's been a couple weeks, and I haven't recorded a podcast, not only because I've been busy, but also because I left you guys with some heavy shit the last few episodes. Two pretty emotional ones, and one that went pretty deep and in depth on my struggles with depression and self-worth and so on and so forth. And it was very analytical, the last one, and I was very happy with it. I was very proud of it. But that's the thing with these podcasts is they're these things that I create, that I bring out into the world, and I'm not looking, I've mentioned this before, I'm not looking to be the next Joe Rogan, you know what I mean? I'm not even really looking to make money off of these. I just like making them. If they can make me money at some point, cool, I guess. It's just like anything else that you like doing, right? If you get good enough at it, well, people like it, they'll pay you for it. That's just kind of how it goes. If you build it, they will come type shit, right? So today, I'm going off of something I've been talking about a lot lately, which is kind of how all these podcasts go. Something that's been on my mind or something that I've been talking about a lot with people. And it's not really scripted this time at all. I mean, they aren't usually scripted, but usually I'll have my little book. I'll have notes in it, right? Well, this time, no book. This time it's just kind of off the cuff stream of consciousness, which it is, again, normally, but I don't have anything that's going to be pulling me back to the subject. So I might go on a few tangent lines. So, sorry, but this is what feels good, and this is what I'm going to do. Because, again, it's my fucking podcast. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Anyhow, so today the topic is sex, amongst other things. It's not particularly sex, but that's probably what I'm going to call it because that's what is going to catch most people's eye and get them to listen to this. But particularly, I'm looking at the male perspective in this equation, particularly male-female interactions, because that's been my experience so far. And again, I'm not trying to preach at people. I'm trying to talk about the shit that I've been through, and maybe it'll come out as relatable, and maybe you'll get something out of it. I don't know. Wishful thinking, maybe. But again, it's just me giving my viewpoints on things that I've noticed in my own relationships and my own experiences and interactions. So, sex. Kind of important. Kind of something that is a part of nearly everyone's life. And it's something that is rarely actually talked about in any sort of constructive way. And again, I'm going to be talking from the male perspective, so this is likely more for my male audience. Now, if you're female watching this, you may want to bring this to your male friends or partner because they might struggle with this. There are particular stigmas and expectations that I'll go into here, and you may deal with them, you may not. But the idea is that these exist, and it's not like anybody's explicitly telling this to us as we grow up as boys becoming men. But it's something that I've noticed that has been a big factor for myself. And I see it all over. Now, what is it that I see? I see that very often in a relationship, a man will use sex and whether or not he and his partner are having it as a metric for whether or not the relationship is successful. Now, that may sound weird to you. It may sound normal to you. I'm not sure. But for me, I think it's fucking weird. I think that putting a quota on sex, if you will, saying if we're having sex X number of days out of the week or X number of times a week or month, I think that's a very strange thing. And if that's something you value, that's for you, and that's okay. That is not something I'm trying to shit talk here. But there is something underneath it that I think a lot of people should pay attention to so that they are not investing in a relationship for the wrong reasons. Because I'll give an experience of mine where I was given that quota and it didn't feel all that great. So for me personally, I rate the success of my own relationships based on my ability to provide a space for my partner or partners to be vulnerable and intimate with me. Meaning, do they trust me with their most intimate bits? with their most vulnerable headspaces? Do they trust me in those moments? For example, if they're having a panic attack, do they trust me to sit there and care for them and cater to their needs during that panic attack to help them calm down and feel better? That's a very good one. All right. That's a great example of something that's a little bit to the extreme, and one where very few people feel comfortable allowing others to see them in those moments, right? So for me, it means a lot if somebody is comfortable sharing those sorts of very, very tender, sensitive headspaces with me. Okay? Because those are very private feelings and very private thoughts. And I like when someone can let me in. They bring down their walls and they let me in. That to me is a metric of success for a relationship. But that's me. I know that there are a lot of men in particular, maybe some women too. I don't know. I'm not trying to make assumptions, but in my experience, anecdotally, a lot of men will base whether or not their relationship is going well on sex. Now, here's where that gets tricky. Because very often, if you're having a lot of sex, it means you're having a lot of fun. However, there's a cop-out. So I'll give you two examples of this. One is an experience that I had. So I dated a girl for 3 years. I'm not going to say her name. She abhorred physical affection and sentimentality, meaning if you were sensitive, if you were emotional, you were weak. That's how she was raised. That's how she saw it. She saw emotions as weakness. And there were other problems in the relationship because of this, but because of that, there was no communication on needs. Okay? There was just basically, this is what I think I need to do, and I'm just going to assume this is what my partner wants. That's what was basically going on throughout this relationship. And we were good to each other, so the relationship lasted longer than it should have, rather than us asserting our needs to one another and communicating that maybe we shouldn't be together. There was no routine with sex for us. It just kind of happened at random. And here's the problem. At the time, I never thought to pay attention to things like body language and so on, because I, at the time, was very assertive about, hey, is this okay? And I would verbally ask, is this good? Are you okay? And I would make sure that, okay, this is consenting, everything is good, so on and so forth. What I did not look for an enthusiastic yes, which now the way I see it is if it's anything but an enthusiastic yes, it's a no. In particular, I checked the body language of the person to make sure that their body language is conducive of what they say, or if they don't say anything, that the body language is saying, yes, I want this. It's welcoming, it's warm, yeah, this is a go, this is a green light. Consent is a very tricky thing, and sometimes people feel obligated and pressured to give in to your desires because they like you or they want you to like them or what have you, even if they're not comfortable with it. And so it's something that you have to develop in your relationships to make sure that the person is not pressured or obligated to do these things. Now, if you don't care about that, I guess that's your thing. But to me, that's a shit move and a dick move. And you should really be considerate for your partner and more empathetic towards their needs and their desires and whether or not they feel obligated to perform for you. Because obligation is not great, in my opinion. So anyway, in this relationship, we went about 2.5 years before this event happened. One night, her and I had sex twice in the same night, which was fairly unusual for us. Usually it's just one and done, and then, all right, cool. Now, for me personally, my rule when I'm with a partner, and this isn't always the case because sometimes, well, because of how each person is wired, it doesn't go this well, but my general rule, what I try to do, is my partner will finish or come first, second, third, fourth, and then I'm allowed to. All right, that's how I like to do it. That's my preference. That is not to say somebody else should also do it that way. That's how I do it because that's what makes me feel good. And if I don't get off at all, cool, I don't mind. I've never cared if I finished. I always had the thought process of if I wanted to get off, I can do it myself. For me, it's about sharing that intimate moment with that person. If sex doesn't happen at all, but I get to be intimate with them, I'm happy. Meaning I might just get them off and we didn't even have sex. For instance, magic fingers, etc., etc., magic tongue, etc., etc. Whatever. I don't care. That's not something I personally value. But again, a lot of men listening to this probably value sex. And I get that. I'm not shit talking that. I'm just giving my personal preference and experience and what I value. So anyway, I tend to my partner's needs first, and then my needs come second. That's usually how I do things. So this particular night, we're having sex. We do it twice, and it was nice. It's actually really funny too because we kind of fell off the bed, and I kicked my. I had this headboard and it had this drawer that came out of it, and I damn near kicked it off the fucking hinges when we fell out of the bed, which is really funny. And then we kept fucking on the floor. It was a really good time. We were laughing. It was a good time. It was a really good night, right? And so this particular girl, she had a curfew at night. Her parents, she lived at home with her parents. I lived with my parents at the time. We were like 24, 25. She was a year older than me. And we had curfew, or I didn't have a curfew. She had a curfew, and so she had to get home. So I walk her out to her car so she can leave. As we're walking out to her car, she pats me on the back and goes, "That should keep you for a while." And I'm thinking in my head, I'm sorry, what? Did you just give me an attaboy and that should keep you for a while, as in you just fulfilled your quota for the month? Is that what that was? And then I started to notice some things. I started to notice that whenever we would have sex, her body language was very cold. It was very non-welcoming, not warm. It was very, I'm curling up into a ball. I don't want this. Even though her words said, yeah, this is okay. I'm okay with this. The routine when we would have sex was we would basically wrestle a little bit. I would tickle her or I would wrestle her. I'd try to kiss her, but she'd like kind of hide and nuzzle away. Eventually I'd get to kissing her, and if she used tongue, that was my go ahead to start undressing and getting into sex. That's just how it was with her and I. But in retrospect, that should keep you for a while. In retrospect, that statement really it brought to light that I was wanting to have sex under the perception that she also wanted to, but when really she was probably just doing it out of obligation to me. And again, we never communicated this at all to one another. The whole relationship, to this day, if she were to watch this, she'd probably be like, the fuck? Because we never talked about it. I'd be very interested to see what she would say. She doesn't talk to me anymore. And that's fine. I hold nothing against her. We definitely did not end things on great terms. But, like most of my exes, I don't hold it against her. We just didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We didn't know how to communicate. And so it was a very strange thing. And so from then on, I was looking for enthusiastic yes. And if it wasn't an enthusiastic yes, it was a no. And that's what happened. That was the fifth girl that I had ever slept with. I was 25 when that relationship came to an end. I'm 28 now. So that was, actually, it's March 24th today. Almost 3 years ago, exactly. April 24th is when things came to an end between her and I. So nearly 3 years ago. Since then, I've had more sex in my entire life in the last 3 years than I have the 25 leading up to that point. I have quintupled my partners. I'm somewhere in the mid-20s now. And here's the thing. I don't do one-night stands. I don't go out looking to lay m'lady, okay? I have dated every single person that I've slept with for at least a month. And only one time did I ever meet somebody who we slept together the first night that we met. Only once. And I bought a car for that person. So, we're still friends to this day. That's a whole other story. But my point is, I was not looking for sex these last 3 years. But I got a tremendous amount of it. Why? Well, that's what I'm going to get into. Because again, this is about sex, right? And again, these are my viewpoints and my experiences. Take from them what you will. So here's the thing about sex for me. I feel like it's very similar to the nice guy conversation. If you expect that you're going to receive things from a woman because you're a nice guy, you are not going to receive them. In a very similar aspect, if you expect out of a partner, out of a female partner, again, I'm saying female partners because I've only had female partners. I have no idea if this is the same for gay and lesbian relationships. No idea. I'm not trying to exclude anybody. I'm just trying to give my experiences here. I have found that if I expect sex, I will receive much less of it. If I express that I want to have sex more often, I notice that it will happen less. If I say nothing about it, and I never ask for sex, I never say, hey, we haven't had sex in a while, why don't we do this? If I never bring it up, and I have zero expectations for sex, I have noticed that the amount of sex I'm having shoots through the fucking roof. And here's the thing, too. The quality of the sex shoots through the roof also. When you go into something with zero expectations, and then something good happens, well, guess what? You had no expectations, so you're like, oh, this is great, holy shit. You go into something with expectations, you reserve the right to be disappointed. So, you have to make the decision. Is sex important to you as a metric in a relationship in determining whether or not the relationship is successful? As in, well, I need sex 3 times a week, otherwise I'm not happy. Okay, you have every right to have that metric and that value in a relationship. However, the way you approach it may affect whether or not you achieve that quota that you're placing for yourself, number one. Number two, it will also determine whether or not your partner will do it begrudgingly or happily. Because see, here's the thing, just like that nice guy conversation, which I'll go into now. I used to be one of those nice guys who would complain all the time about how all these girls would come to me. Oh my God, my boyfriend cheated on me. He's such an asshole. I don't know what to do. And I would be there for them. I would console them. I would make them feel better. Da, da, da. And then, instead of being with me, they would go right back to the abusive boyfriend or the guy who cheated on her or whatever, right? I'd be like, well, what the fuck? Why is no one? Da, da, da. Why not me? Why not me? Woe is me. I'm such a nice guy. That mentality is pathetic and wrong. You are entitled to no one and nothing. Period. I don't care how nice you are. You can be a fucking saint. It does not mean a woman will spread her legs for you just because you were nice to her, you opened a door for her, you gave her a compliment. That's not how that works there, Chief. You should be nice because it's the right thing to fucking do. Not because you expect something in return. It is not an exchange of, I was chivalrous, you should give me sex now. That is bullshit. That is wrong, in my opinion. If that's how you want to do things, feel free. But I can guarantee you, you will have a very toxic exchange. It should be something that's unconditional. And what do I mean by that? I mean you treat everyone with respect and kindness. No matter who they are. I don't care if they look like fucking Quasimodo or Igor. Or if they look like Jennifer Hudson, Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Lawrence, or one of the other Jennifers. If they're fucking hot as shit, or they look like a fucking mud pie, or anything in between. You treat them with respect and kindness, just like you would a guy. You see everyone as a potential friend, not a potential mate. Period. Women are not pieces of meat. Who'da thunk? When you start seeing women as people, rather than I want to fuck her, you'll start to notice a change. When you stop undressing them with your eyeballs, and you start listening to the words that come from their mouth and develop a relationship, and, I don't know, experience intimacy with them, you open yourself up to something new. What is that? All of a sudden, you don't have to try so hard because you want to do things for them. I'll give you an example. In one of my current relationships, which, by the way, I guess I'll get this out of the way now, I am polyamorous. I have 2 girlfriends. They know about each other. They're both married, and one has 2 other boyfriends besides me. Okay? Everyone is consenting adults in this situation. Everyone is a consenting adult in this situation. Everybody knows about each other, so on and so forth. That is for another video. We'll get into it later. But for now, that's the simple background you need to know. I have 2 current relationships, and in one of them, every time I come over, I will stay the night at her place 2 nights a week, and then we have a 3rd night that's a date night. Anytime I go to her apartment, we'll spend time together. But when she's busy with things, for instance, I stay the night on a weekday, she has to work from home, during the morning hours. While she's working, I will get to work cleaning the entire apartment. This morning, that's what I did. Cleaned the countertops, did the dishes, put the dishes away, Swiffered the floors, and I made sure all the tabletops were cleaned and polished, and I even vacuumed. Put away some dog toys, put away her daughter's toys, made sure the plate was OCD spotless. Now, why would I do this? It's because I want to get laid later? No. Is it because I want brownie points so that if I fuck up later, I'm good? No. It's because she is very OCD. And if she walks out of her bedroom into the living space and it is a fucking hurricane of a mess, I can see her face visibly change and her mood visibly drop as her shoulders tighten with stress, because I know that that makes her feel like shit. But if she comes out and she notices the space is very, very clean, it's very nice, organized, and put together, I see a release of that stress. I see a release of that anxiety. It's the difference between ungood and good feels. It makes her day. Do I expect a thank you? No. Do I expect her to appreciate it? No. Does she? Yes. I do it because I know it makes her feel good, and I like making my partners feel good. Same reason why, when we do have sex, I want them to come first, second, third, fourth, and then I'm allowed to. I like servicing my partners. That is something that I do in my life. Doesn't mean you should. Doesn't mean you do. But again, if you do something like this, where it's unconditional, you expect nothing in return, there is no quota, there is no quantitative metric, it's just qualitative actions for your partner, acts of kindness, acts of goodwill, just because you want them to feel good. You get them flowers not because you fucked up, but because you want them to feel good, you want to make their day. You tell them they're pretty because you want to make them feel good, not because you're trying to get your dick sucked. Okay? If you start acting without expectation, I guarantee you, any sort of tension, pressure, and obligation that will be placed on your partner to perform, to acquire that metric of success, of sex, or whatever, will start to go away. They will no longer feel pressured. They will no longer do things begrudgingly. Instead, they will authentically come to pass. Now, I'm not a Sith Lord. I don't deal in absolutes. This may not happen. However, it does improve your standing in the relationship to be like, hey, I just want to let you know, I really value our time together, intimately and sexually, and I just want you to know it would mean a lot to me if we could do that more. I don't want to schedule it. I don't want it to be something inauthentic. I don't want it to be something that becomes this routine. It's just, that's important to me. And I just wanted you to know that. That's it. Don't say, every Friday we're fucking at 3 o'clock and on the kitchen table. Like, don't think about it too much and don't ask for it too much. Just explain and express you have this need that you want to have more sex. And you don't even have to say more sex. You just say, hey, I would like to be more intimate. I would like to have those moments with you where we dance around naked. That's it. If you do that, I guarantee you will see greater success in that category. Again, without the expectation of it. And here's the thing. This is very fucking important. If you are with somebody and you value how often you have sex, and you do all of this, no expectations, you express to them that, hey, this is something that I value, I would like. And so you're giving them all these things that you know make them happy with zero expectations. Okay? They're happy. All right. Now, are they reciprocating in a way that, again, you're not asking for anything, but are they treating you with the same level of quality investment as you are with them? Are they doing it out of obligation, or are they doing it because they want to, or are they not doing it at all? Those are 3 things to consider. If they're still doing it out of obligation, not good. If they're not doing it at all, not good. But if they're doing it because they genuinely want to, because they want to make you feel good, and they also happen to feel good in that moment, that's a bonus. But again, you want this person enthusiastically pursuing you like this. If it is not an enthusiastic yes, it's a hard no. That's my view of it, period. And here's the thing. You have to decide. Are you okay with this person doing that out of obligation? Are you okay with treating this person so well, doing all these things, expecting nothing, and then also receiving nothing? Some people are. Some people are okay with that. And some people are okay with their partner feeling pressured and begrudgingly following through and giving them their needs. I am not. And so in one of these three situations, I am happy. In the other two, I am not. In those other two situations, the relationship is a failure to launch, and I am going to move on to somebody else because obviously the connection is not there. We may connect as friends, because that's the thing, right? You can connect with somebody platonically, meaning it's not this mutual, I want to fuck you thing. And that's okay. You're allowed to be friends with the opposite sex and be heterosexual and not have those sexual feelings. Now, one person might, but if the other person doesn't, guess what, bucko? There's not going to be a relationship. That's going to be a one-sided fucking mess. And that's what I am trying to get across here. You don't want the one-sided fucking mess. That's what leads to issues. And so I focus a lot on men here because we're not explicitly told. That's the weird thing. We are not explicitly told that we need to be fucking all the time, that we need to be the one to get our girlfriends off or get our wives off and all these things, which gets into this weird self-worth and insecurity, self-confidence category revolving around sex where, if we're not having any sex, well, we must be failures as men, right? Because that means that we're not performing well enough for our women, and that means we're less of a man because of it, right? Well, no. Maybe you don't want to have all that sex. Maybe you don't want to have sex for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Maybe 5-10 minutes is enough for you and your partner. Or maybe that's just all you want, and then when you're done, to help please your partner, you use your fingers or a toy or your tongue or whatever to fulfill their needs. But we're told as men that, oh, well, if you only go 2 or 3 minutes, well, that's pathetic. You're a failure if that's the case. Or if you can't go for an hour straight, you just suck in bed. Or all these stigmatized acts, premature ejaculation, all these things. Listen, your dick is your dick. Your ability to perform is your ability to perform. Now, if you want to improve that ability to perform, there are ways you can do that. But you want to do it because you want to do it for you, and you're like, yeah, this will be fun if I can do this for my partner, and it'll be fun, it'll be a good time, I like this. But if you're doing it because society says you have to, because porn is setting some really fucking retarded standard for you, that like, oh, I gotta make her squirt across the room, guys, like, hello? You're a fucking average, normal person. And hey, if you're cream of the crop on something, awesome, good for you. But I guarantee you there's something else that you're not. Don't let these weird societal norms get to you. Don't let them tell you how you should be having sex. Don't let them tell you how much sex you should be having or the quality of the sex that you're having. Don't let them tell you when you should be getting off. No. That is something you should be discussing with your partner. You should be discussing what you want, expressing your needs, and asserting your needs and your boundaries, and then listening to their needs, their desires, and respecting their boundaries. It's a two-way street, guys. That's how this fucking works. And that's where the communication comes in. I'll get into polyamory stuff. Fuck it. What drove me to polyamory? I mentioned how a few months ago, God, longer than that now, this was the first week of November 2020. I mentioned how I was in a relationship, it came to an end, and then a couple weeks later I saw that she was back on Tinder when she had told me that she wanted to break up because she had insecurities, that she wanted to work out, and she didn't feel she was ready for a relationship, so she wasn't going to date for a while. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later I saw her on Tinder, asked her about it, she blew up on me and got all defensive and gaslit me. When she gaslit me, she had some very ungood things to say to me, laughed at me, hung up, and blocked me. And so not only was I denied closure, but I had this person who I was on track to, buy a home with, get engaged, marry, have kids. Like, we were together 8 months during a pandemic. We got pretty close. And for her to up and leave over the course of a day or two, and then to have lied about her reason for leaving, and then gaslight me and call me terrible things that basically shook my foundation as a person, threw me into my first panic attack. And then, thankfully, I have a good support system of friends. Called one friend for an hour, another friend for an hour, and then a third friend for an hour. And I was up till 1 a.m. trying to make sure I could understand what the fuck just happened so I could process my feelings. When I was done processing those feelings, those 3 friends that I talked to, all of which were women, by the way, all of which had been manipulated and gaslit in relationships past, which is why I called them, they all gave me a different perspective as to why it happened the way it did. And why did it happen? It happened because the woman I was with did not know how to express her needs. She did not know how to explain that she did not understand certain pieces about me, and because she couldn't understand them, she couldn't accept me, and that's okay. That's a good reason to leave a relationship. I do not fault her for that, but she did not tell me that. She said something else. She lied because she didn't know how to express herself. Again, that's fine. If you don't know how to express yourself and assert your needs in a relationship, I understand. I don't blame her for that. If she were to talk to me right now, I'd give her a hug and I'd tell her, hey, you did this thing, it was awful, but I don't hold it against you. I don't even feel the need to forgive you because I don't think it was so bad that I need to forgive you for it. But if you want to be forgiven, I'll forgive you, whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't hold it against her. I respect her, and I hope she is able to assert her needs in the future relationships, because in this particular relationship, it was a good one. Nothing bad happened, but she could not effectively communicate what she needed. And what she needed was an understanding of who I was in certain aspects of myself. And as hard as I tried to give that to her, it wasn't enough. And so she moved on. And that's okay. What I am saying is that when this happens, it leaves me like, well, what the fuck? I didn't even do anything. Why did this relationship come to an end? It came to an end because we just didn't jive well because of a simple misunderstanding. And it turned into the gaslight because she just kind of bottled it up, and then it turned into resentment toward me, which is why she left, which is good. She should have done that. She made the right move. But here's the problem. When I called her out on her lie, she got defensive and then gaslit me. And again, that part's not okay, but I understand why she did. Because she had this bottle up emotions of frustration in our relationship that just exploded all at once. And why? Because she could not communicate her needs. She couldn't get it out. She had to bottle it up and push it down. So, this pushed me into polyamory. Because right before that happened, I started talking to another girl. She met up with me. We talked till 2 or 3 in the morning. We had a really good time. We were really jiving, really had a great time. And kissed her the other night. She went home, and then we were making plans to go out again. And then nothing. Ghost. Complete ghost. She either deleted me or blocked me. I can't remember. But I couldn't see anything. Okay? She just gone. No text, no call, nothing. And about a week and a half ago, she reached back out to me. Hey, I'm so sorry. Things were going so well so fast. It scared the shit out of me. I said to myself that if things are this good in the beginning, there's no way it's going to stay that way. I need to get the fuck out. And she ran away, and she just disappeared because she didn't know how to express herself properly and tell me that she was scared and that she didn't want to move forward because she wasn't ready. Instead, she just ghosted me. And so those 2 things, the one gaslight and the one ghost, those 2 things together pushed me to, all right, I can't deal with this shit anymore where my partners aren't communicating with me or my potential partners aren't communicating with me. How can I filter my partners further so I can ensure that I am communicating my needs and then my partner's communicating their needs? That's when polyamory came into the picture. I met my first girlfriend late November. I met my second one earlier this month. And the thing is, when you have multiple partners, you have to be transparent. You have to communicate your needs. And you have to consider the needs of your metamor. Your metamor is the partner of your partner. And so I have to consider the needs of my girlfriend's husbands, for instance. Or, in the case of the one girlfriend, her other boyfriends. I have to consider all of these things. I have to not only express my needs, but I have to also consider the needs of my metamors and my partners themselves. Does it sound complicated? Because it is. And it's not easy. It's not simple. It's very difficult. However, I personally find it very fulfilling because there's always something to be worked on. And the thing is, with my girlfriends, this is what I like. Every conversation we have, I feel like we're getting somewhere. I don't feel like I'm talking to a fucking wall. They input into the conversation just as much as I input into the conversation. One of us brings a problem to the table. We both look at the problem together and the part that we play in the problem. Or maybe it has nothing to do with us and we're just trying to help them workshop an answer or a solution. And we work on it together. That's the thing. We're in it together. It's a legitimate partnership. We love each other enough to express our needs, even if it's something that is not all that great to talk about or something that we know our partner doesn't want to hear, but we have the confidence in our own relationship and in ourselves and the assertiveness in our own boundaries and our own values and principles to put that on the table for it to be workshopped and looked at. We hide nothing from each other. There is 100% trust, zero lies, zero betrayals, zero secrets. If something is bothering us, we bring it to the table ubiquitously. The small things and the big things alike, which for me, the small things are the most important. And so I know that this whole conversation started with sex. But what lies underneath sex is the relationship and the intimacy you share with your partner or partners. And here's the thing. If you complain all the time about how you can't find a partner because you're so nice and they only go after assholes, it's the same thing as saying, hey, I want to have a lot more sex and then not getting it, versus expecting no sex and then being pleasantly surprised when you receive it. It's a complicated topic, but this has been my experience with it. Okay? I don't want you to feel pressured into acting any which way or other. I want you to hopefully take from what I've talked about today and apply it in your own life in a way that can help you in your relationships, it can help you in your sex life, and it can help you feel more fulfilled in your interactions in your more intimate romantic relationships. That is my hope. If it helped, super happy about that. If it didn't, well, thanks for listening anyway. I am no expert on this shit, okay? I've been polyamorous it's March. I've been polyamorous for 4 months. Okay? 4 or 5 months. I'm still new as fuck to this shit. But I can tell you one thing. For me, it's the most fulfilling thing I've ever experienced. And for the first time in my life, I feel no pressure to do something that I don't want to do. I'm living the life that I want to live now. And what I mean by that is, I'm not climbing that typical relationship ladder. You know, oh, we just met. Oh, we had our first kiss. Oh, we had sex for the first time. Oh, we said I love you for the first time. Oh, I guess now we're going to look for a house together. Oh, I guess now we're going to get married maybe. Oh, I guess we're going to have kids now. And then just running that race, sprinting up that ladder, that relationship ladder. I don't feel that. I don't feel pressure to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way down to Z. All I feel is the love for my partners that they have for me, that I have for them, and we enjoy ourselves and we build our lives together. I don't feel pressured to do anything other than, hey, I want to see you. What's going on this week? How can we get together? Oh, this sounds fun. Let's do that. Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. We should definitely do that too. It sounds hedonistic, and it is in a way, but again, like I said, hedonism is the pursuit of things with, I would say, reckless abandon for the consequences, and that's not what this is. At least not for me. Polyamory for me is engaging in challenging dynamics specifically to grow as a person. But the thing is, you don't grow alone. You grow together, and the hardships only make you better. And it's again the most fulfilling experience I've ever had. And so I'm very happy with it. And it gives me these, I think, unique perspectives on things like sex. Because, again, you become intimately aware of your partner's needs, as well as whether or not those needs are being met elsewhere. And so there's a certain amount of self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence that is or is not there. And it becomes blatantly clear where your shortcomings fall. And I personally enjoy and relish the opportunity to work on those shortcomings so that they can become strengths. I've always enjoyed turning a weakness into a strength. And so that's why I personally have decided to do this for myself. Does not mean you have to. Again, I am not trying to preach and lecture you on how to live your fucking life. It's your life, you live it the way you want. But I do know there's a lot of overlap, even though my life may be different as fuck to yours. I do know there's a lot of overlap where you may be able to use this to effectively change your relationships and your life for the better. And that's what I hope this podcast can do as a whole. And again, unscripted, I didn't look at anything. This is all stream of consciousness for me. This is the kind of stuff I think about on a regular basis. So I don't know when my next episode is going to come out. It might be on something completely different than this. It might be something emotional like the last few episodes. Or it might be something like this. Or it might just be me bullshitting with a friend. I don't know. I can take this podcast wherever the fuck I want because it's my goddamn podcast. And that's what makes it fun. And so I'm just going to keep doing this. If you want to keep listening, I am happy to have you. But if you guys have questions, I'd love to do some interactions with you. I would love it if you ask questions in the comments section. If you sent me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, I would love to start interacting with you guys because I'm starting to get a few pretty regular followers and listeners. And I would love to address some of your questions, or maybe you have a topic that I would love to talk about. So if you have anything you would like to bring up to me, feel free to throw it in the comment section below or throw me a message. I'd love to interact with you guys. Interacting with people is one of my favorite things to do. I value relationships, period, romantic or otherwise. So I'd be happy to hear from you. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this episode today, thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Like I said, I love doing this, and I hope it can help you. But that's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in. This has been another episode, I think episode 10, 9 or 10, I don't know. We'll figure it out when I post this damn thing, of DudeCast TV. Thanks again for joining me. Peace out. Deuce Magoose. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.